Have you ever picked up a passenger who felt wrong? Someone who made your skin crawl, but you couldn't explain why? I did once, but I wasn't prepared for what happened next. Because that night, I didn't just pick up a passenger. I picked up a ghost. I'm not a guy who believes in ghosts. I've been a taxi driver for over a decade, so I've heard all the stories. People talking about creepy rides, strange encounters, and weird passengers. But I've always shrugged them off as nonsense. I never thought it would happen to me. But that night changed everything. It started like any other night. I was just finishing up my shift, ready to head home. The streets were empty. The city was quiet. But then I saw her. She was standing by the side of the road, looking, out of place, dressed in a long coat, her hair covered by a scarf. It was a strange time to be out, especially for a woman by herself. But I didn't think much of it. I just slowed down, rolled down my window, and asked if she needed a ride. She got in quietly, didn't say much at first. I asked where she was going, and she gave me an address I didn't recognize, some old, run-down neighborhood on the outskirts of town. I thought it was a bit odd, but again, it wasn't my business. I started driving, trying to make small talk, but she wasn't interested. She just stared out the window, her face almost hidden by the scarf. As I drove, I felt a strange heaviness in the air. It was like the car was too quiet, and not just because of the silence between us. The atmosphere felt off. I could feel her eyes on me in the rearview mirror, but every time I looked, she was looking away. It was like she was trying to avoid my gaze. But it wasn't just that. Something didn't feel right about the whole situation. I can't explain it, but I felt trapped. Then, out of nowhere, she spoke. Her voice was soft, almost like a whisper, but it cut through the silence like a blade. You shouldn't be going this way. You're heading straight into danger. At first, I thought it was just some weird, random thing she said. Maybe she was crazy or messing with me. But something about the way she said it sounded too serious, too urgent. My gut was telling me something was wrong, but I just kept driving. And then she spoke again. There's something waiting for you at the end of the road, something you can't outrun. I thought I was imagining things. I was tired, maybe a little too focused on the road, but her words, they kept ringing in my ears. I tried to shake it off, asking her again where exactly we were going, but she didn't answer. She just stared at the dark road ahead. And the further we went, the colder it got. I could see my breath fogging up in the air. It was then that I noticed something even stranger. Her reflection in the mirror didn't match her movements. Her head was still, but I swear her reflection was moving, looking directly at me. I slammed my foot on the gas, trying to speed up, but it didn't matter. The road stretched on, never-ending. And then the lights. The street lights began flickering. One by one, they went out. We were driving in complete darkness. You're almost there. It's already begun. I could feel my heart pounding my chest. My hands were sweating, gripping the wheels so hard that my knuckles turned white. I could see the faint glow of lights up ahead, but the road was so empty, so desolate, that it felt like we were driving through a nightmare. And then something happened. A car coming straight at us. But it wasn't normal. It was speeding, weaving through the road like it was out of control. I swerved to avoid it, but the car didn't even flinch. It just passed right through us. I don't know how to explain it. One moment, there was a car right in front of us, and the next, there was nothing. No car, no sound, just silence. I looked in the rear view mirror. The woman was gone. She wasn't in the back seat anymore. She had vanished. I pulled over, my mind racing. I looked around. No sign of her. No car. It was like I had just imagined the whole thing. But then I looked at the road, and I saw something. It was a sign, an old, rusted sign on the side of the road. It read, "Turn back before it's too late." That sign, I'd never seen it before, and there was no way anyone could have put it up there so quickly. I didn't know what to think. Was she trying to warn me about something? Was she a ghost? A spirit tied to that road? I never made it to that destination. I turned around and drove back, leaving that road behind. But I couldn't forget, not the warning, not the feeling of her presence. And to this day, I wonder, did I just pick up a ghost? Was she really trying to save me from something that I couldn't see? If you ever find yourself driving down a quiet road late at night, and you see someone standing on the side of the road, just remember my story. Sometimes the warnings are real, and sometimes the ghost you pick up isn't trying to harm you. They're trying to save you from something far worse. But then again, maybe it's already too late. Before we move on to the next story, if you like true scary stories, please subscribe to the channel and click the bell icon for more creepy tales every week. It started with a single, chilling call. "We need you out here right now." That's all they said. Simple, but something in their voice, it shook me. And that's how I ended up on a highway I never should have been on. We set up like we always do, cams, audio recorders, and flashlights. The first few hours were uneventful, just the typical eerie quiet, the kind that makes you feel like someone's watching you from the darkness. But then, around 2:30 a.m., things started happening. At first, it was subtle. The sound of an engine revving in the distance, getting closer, then suddenly stopping. We figured it was a car passing by, but we hadn't seen a single vehicle in over an hour. And the sound, it was wrong. Too clear, too close, but no car ever appeared. We were getting nervous now, even though we tried to stay calm. And that's when we heard it. A voice. At first, it was so faint, we thought we were hearing things. But then it grew clearer. I can't tell you exactly what it said, but it was urgent, like someone warning us. We couldn't make it out fully, but one thing was clear. The voice was coming from the passenger side of our van. We froze. Something, or someone, had just knocked on the side of the van. But when we checked, no one, nothing, just the empty highway. I can't explain it. There was no way anyone could have been there. That's when we decided to investigate. We pulled out the EVP, electronic voice phenomena, equipment, and began asking questions. You know, the usual stuff. Who's here? Why are you here? And then we heard something that would haunt us forever. It's too late, the warning, you didn't listen. I didn't want to believe it, but that voice wasn't human. It was cold, distorted. And when I replayed it, I realized something. It was coming from the passenger seat. Now, I've heard stories of haunted roads, of restless spirits trying to get attention. But this felt different. We couldn't shake the feeling that we weren't alone in that van, that something or someone was right there, just out of sight. And then it happened. The door had opened, slowly, by itself. No one was near it. We were all sitting in the back, staring at each other in disbelief. But there it was, the door wide open, like someone had just gotten in. We rushed to the van, adrenaline pumping, but no one was there. It didn't make sense. The door had opened by itself. The wind was dead still. The only explanation left was that something had been sitting in that passenger seat. That's when we heard the engine again, but this time it was loud, too loud, and it was getting closer, fast. We thought it was another car, but as we turned around, nothing. No headlights, no car in sight. We were trapped. That's the only way to explain it. We couldn't escape. It felt like the road itself had turned on us. We tried to leave, but it was like someone was holding us there, keeping us on that cursed stretch of highway. Then we heard it, a scream, a blood-curdling, agonizing scream coming from the woods. It sounded like a woman, desperate, in pain, and that's when it hit us. That passenger, the one we thought we had contacted on the EVP, wasn't some lost soul. She wasn't just a spirit. She was the one who had died on that highway. The ghostly passenger that people warned about. The one who died in an accident, whose body had never been found. The warning, it wasn't meant for us. It was meant for someone else. Someone who would drive this road next. The same way she had, alone, And when the van door opened, when we heard that scream, it was as if she was trying to pull us and trying to make us stay so we wouldn't become part of the road's cursed history. We left, but we all knew, that road, that highway, it doesn't let go of you. It keeps a piece of you, a memory of your terror. And once you've been there, you're marked, as if you were meant to be part of its twisted, endless cycle. So, if you ever find yourself driving down a road at night, and you hear a sound, a whisper, a door creak open, just remember, some warnings are meant to be heard, and some roads should never be traveled. Because once you're on Highway 666, you might not make it out.